WWE Summerslam 2010 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view just went off the air. As far as this Summerslam, what I gotta say about it, it was pretty uneventful. It wasn't that good of a Summerslam, but the way the card looked on paper going into the pay-per-view, you shouldn't have really been expecting much from it other than the 7-on-7 match, which I would say match-wise, that was probably the only good match on here. And there were a few moments on the pay-per-view you could say that were kind of enjoyable. But definitely this is one of the worst SummerSlams I've seen in a long time. Definitely not worth going out your way to purchase the pay-per-view. I would say stay clear from it. If you check the pay-per-view out, check it mainly out for the 7-on-7 match, and that's really the only thing to see. Now, Taker did return, but his return was probably almost as bad as RVD's debut in TNA when Sting just kept on battering him and hitting him with a baseball bat. Because Undertaker, he came there and just got destroyed by Kane on his return. Just made it, a very poor return right there from Undertaker, and WWE just booked that terrible. I know they want to do Kane and Undertaker and have that feud, but they could have handled it better than what they did. Now, the first matchup was Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston for the Intercontinental Championship. We saw some good back and forth action. It was going on to be a pretty good match. The match ends in a no contest due to the Nexus coming out there, interfering in the match. They throw Dolph Ziggler outside the ring. Then all 7 of them are surrounding Kofi Kingston. They beat down Kofi Kingston. And then Wade Barrett gets on the mic. Just a typical promo building up and hyping up the match later on, the 7-on-7 elimination match, saying that Team WWE, we're coming against you. We're going to go out there and we're going to completely destroy you. Just that typical promo from him. Now, since the match ended in no contest, it's kind of like, should I give it a rating or should I not? But it was probably given at least 8 or 10 minutes before there was interference, before it was ruled a no contest. So just in that, the match was going on pretty good with Kofi Kingston and Dolph Ziggler. And from the action you saw, it was at least, something pretty decent. I would have preferred the show not to start off with a no contest, but it at least made sense, because it made sense in a way where you were saying that this, given the fans that were tuning into this pay-per-view, saying that, whoa, this main event later on is something really big, since they started off the pay-per-view with the interference from the Nexus, interfering in the first match on the pay-per-view. So, match, I'll probably give it 2 stars, even with the no contest, because it was actually pretty entertaining stuff you saw from Kofi Kingston and Dolph Ziggler before the interference, and the match ended in no contest. If it wasn't no contest, it probably would have been a pretty entertaining opener, but that kind of hurt it right there. Then the next matchup was Alicia Fox versus Melina for the Divas Championship. Just a typical Divas match, nothing too special in here. Melina picks up the victory and is the new Divas Champion. Then after the match, you see Lay Cool come out there, and they're trying to act like they're congratulating Melina for winning it. Then they attack Melina. Then they attack Melina, and that was the whole end of that. Which this whole thing with Lay Cool coming out there, Melina then attacking them, just didn't make really any sense. Like, is this going to actually lead to something? Because the only thing I could see this leading to is maybe a unification with the women's championships, which they've kind of teased before from time to time. But are they actually going to have this lead to something, or is this just a pointless thing just to, stretch out the pay-per-view and, have something, cut time on the pay-per-view with this whole Lay Cool coming out there at this point? Match-wise, for a Divas match, I would give it, 1.5 stars. Next matchup was the Shredded Society versus Big Show in a 3-on-1 handicap match. This match wasn't expecting much from it, and pretty much was what I was expecting. Not much of anything. The end of the match comes when CM Punk, he's going up the ramp, pretty much deserting his members, Luke Gallows and Joey Mercury. Big Show chokeslams Joey Mercury on top of Luke Gallows, then picks up the victory. So Big Show wins the 3-on-1 handicap match. So you're probably going to see a little, after this, a little friction and slowly the breakup of the Shredded Society since they started it right here. Match, I give it 1.5 stars. So far, you're like seeing what the pay-per-view was like so far. Nothing, that was pretty much right there. Next part they did was Miz coming out there in the ring, cutting a promo. He was saying, he's one of the greatest wrestlers in the company, saying he's the best there is, best there was, and stuff like this, and saying that all the members on Team WWE have been trying to get him to be the 7th member on the team since the Nexus took out Great Khali and there was a spot left, and he said he would accept that that leads to something later on. I'll explain that, which was probably one of the best moments on this pay-per-view was what happened later on, where you'll see what happens then. Most people already know, but I'll give my thoughts on that when it gets towards the 7-on-7 match. This promo by The Miz, it was pretty good, I would say, but it kind of dragged on, I would say. And that was pretty much the first hour of the pay-per-view. So the first hour of a pay-per-view is pretty much uneventful, nothing special. Pretty much stuff you would say was TV quality at best. Nothing really good at all. This is supposed to be a pay-per-view the WWE's trying to say you should go out your way and spend $45 with. Then the next matchup was Sheamus versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. Pretty decent match. You know, you saw good back and forth action. The ending of this match just kind of hurt and killed it for me. The match ends in disqualification. So the first hour of this pay-per-view was uneventful. You already had a match end in no contest. You had a Divas match that wasn't much of anything, and the Handicap match was nothing anyone was looking forward to. Then you have the first of your major title matches, your heavyweight title matches. You have the match end in disqualification, which I guess in some ways it made sense in some ways, because obviously I guess they didn't want Orton to take the fall on the match and Sheamus retained that way, and he wouldn't have to take the pinfall. Maybe that's what they wanted to do, and have Orton just win the title at another pay-per-view instead of SummerSlam, which I kind of wish he would have won at this pay-per-view, because he's so over with the crowd. I think it would have been a perfect moment for him to win on this pay-per-view. I mean, before the match ends in disqualification, we were seeing some pretty decent stuff. It kind of dragged on, was really picking up at the end of the match. I really liked one spot towards the end, which was basically the end of the match, where Sheamus, he was going for his Irish cross. Randy Orton got out of it, went for the RKO. Sheamus reverses it and hits his bicycle kick. That was just a great spot right there. And that would have been something I would have been okay if that was the finish of the match. Then Sheamus goes outside the ring, gets a chair, brings it in the ring. The ref tries to grab it from him. Then he throws the ref outside the ring. So then the ref rings the bell, saying the match ends in disqualification. So Randy Orton wins the match, but Sheamus retains the title since it ended in disqualification. For what it was, I would probably give it 2 1/4 stars, because you saw some good stuff in it. It was starting to pick up at the end, but the ending of a disqualification, you know, this is the second time these two have been in a title match this year. They did the same thing at the Royal Rumble, I think, where the match ended in disqualification with the match with Randy Orton versus Sheamus. So I guess they're going to have another match at the Night of Champions or something. I guess we'll have to wait and see where that goes. Then after the match, Randy Orton pretty much completely snapped. They went outside the ring, brawled a little bit. Then Randy Orton hit the RKO on the announce table, and that was the end of that segment right there. Then went to the next match, which was Rey Mysterio versus Kane for the World Heavyweight Championship. And this match, it started off pretty slow, then it started picking up. Towards the end of it, you saw some good stuff, really good stuff from Mysterio in here, some good counters and reversals. It was, you know, pretty decent match. Nothing too special, not a great match, but overall, you know, a watchable, you know, somewhat, you know, decent match right here with Kane versus Rey Mysterio. Kane retains the championship after a chokeslam to Rey Mysterio. For what it was, I would give it probably 2 1/2 stars, and that might be a little too generous to it, but it was pretty decent for what it was. You saw some good stuff in it. And then at the end of the match, obviously you knew what was going to happen. The Undertaker's return. At one point, Rey Mysterio, not Rey Mysterio, but Kane was trying to put Rey Mysterio in the casket that was at the ringside, and he lifted open. You didn't see Undertaker that time. Then he opened it again. Undertaker popped out, and then he kind of went after Rey Mysterio, not went after him, but said, "Rey Mysterio, why'd you do it to me?" Then he turned around to Kane, and then you saw them kind of, you know, stare at each other. Then they brawled a little bit. Then this was the worst part. This is like the one way how you would not book a return. Undertaker gets tombstoned by Kane. Now, sure, this is going to be able to, you know, lead to a Kane versus Undertaker feud for the title, but this is not a way for someone to return at one of your major pay-per-views where he pretty much looks like a complete jobber. Kane, you know, hits a tombstone, and Undertaker didn't really have much offense of anything. You know, a few punches, and that was basically it, and then he hits the tombstone. Very terrible way to book a return, and like I said earlier, it was probably like as bad as the other return, or not return, but debut of RVD in TNA. That's kind of what this return seemed like. It was that bad of a return. It's just not a way you should book a return. It's just terrible right there. Now, we're to see Undertaker and Kane in a feud. We've seen it millions of times before. It's not going to be, you know, god-awful, but it's something like, WWE, couldn't you try to at least do something original instead of relying on a feud we've already seen millions and millions of times, and we already know the way it's going to go. Undertaker is going to, you know, get his revenge on Kane, get the championship, and that's the way it's going to go. Maybe at the next pay-per-view, you know, Undertaker will get the title and defeat Kane at the September pay-per-view, which is Night of Champions. Then the next matchup was the main event. This was the Nexus versus Team WWE. The Nexus consisting of Wade Barrett, Skip Sheffield, Justin Gabriel, David Otunga, Darren Young, Michael Tarver, and Heath Slater. And Team WWE was consisted of John Cena, Bret Hart, Chris Jericho, Edge, John Morrison, R-Truth. And the seventh member, you know, earlier it was The Miz accepting it and saying he was going to be the seventh person. And then when he came out there, John Cena said, no, Miz, we already had a seventh member. You cannot just come out here and accept on the night of the of this pay-per-view and say you're the seventh member. We already have someone. And then Cena said our seventh member and our mystery partner for our team is Daniel Bryan. Huge pop right here from the crowd. This was a mark-out moment right here, seeing Bryan Danielson, a.k.a. Daniel Bryan, back in WWE. So obviously with this, Daniel Bryan is back with WWE. It's going to be interesting to see. You know, I know he's got a few indie dates coming up, and he's, you know, advertised for those. Is he going to still work those, or is he going to just completely cancel that? Which, if, you know, in his case, obviously he would choose WWE over that any day. And great to see him back in WWE. This is something I think some people were maybe expecting for this pay-per-view, or expecting at least soon. That most people were expecting, you know, Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson to return to WWE soon, but on here it was kind of up in there. I said in, you know, the preview and my thoughts on this event going into it that I thought there might have been a small chance of him returning, but I didn't really expect it too much. It was great to see him come out here. That was one of the best moments of this pay-per-view right there, seeing Bryan Danielson come out there. And not only that, Bryan Danielson main eventing, you know, even though it's a 7-on-7 match, it's not a 1-on-1 match, but still, nonetheless, main eventing a WWE pay-per-view. And the way the eliminations went in this match, the first elimination was Darren Young got eliminated by Daniel Bryan. He tapped out. Then Morrison eliminated Michael Tarver. Then Morrison got eliminated by Skip Sheffield. R-Truth got eliminated by Sheffield there, so Sheffield with 2 back-to-back eliminations right there. Bret Hart is in the ring. You see him and Skip Sheffield going at it, and then then a steel chair gets in the ring. Bret Hart grabs that, hits Skip Sheffield with it, and gets himself disqualified. So Bret Hart gets himself disqualified, which makes sense in this match. You put him in this type of match. You knew he wasn't going to, you know, take any bumps in here, and this was the perfect way to get him out of the match, get himself disqualified. Then Skip Sheffield got eliminated by Edge. Then Otunga got eliminated by Chris Jericho. Then Jericho at this point got eliminated by not Sheffield or anything, but he got eliminated by Heath Slater. And this was kind of like one of the first things. WWE did a pretty decent job, even though you knew it wasn't going to happen. They did a good job of kind of teasing it. Cena might have turned because he inadvertently cost Jericho to get eliminated by Slater here. Then you saw Edge and Cena kind of arguing it back in the ring. Then Edge was the legal man at that point. Then Slater eliminated him. So Cena right there kind of accidentally eliminated, but inadvertently made the eliminations happen with Jericho and Edge getting eliminated. Then not that long after that, you saw Cena get pulled outside the ring. You saw Edge and Jericho attack him. Edge hits him with a spear. Then Cena's pretty much beaten up right there. Then he gets in the ring. Then the Slater gets eliminated by Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan. Then the next elimination comes where Bryan Danielson gets eliminated by Wade Barrett. But before that, you saw The Miz come out there, hit Bryan Danielson in the back with his Money in the Bank briefcase. So The Miz kind of causes Bryan Danielson to get eliminated here in this match. So you didn't see any turns in here. I mean, other than, you know, The Miz maybe coming out there, if you call that a turn, or, you know, Edge spearing Cena because, you know, Edge and Jericho thought that Cena costed them to get eliminated in this match. And this made sense, you know, with the whole thing with the Miz and Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan story. It made sense, Miz coming out here costing him this. And not only that, you know, with this match, Miz said he was going to offer himself to be the 7th member. Then Cena said, no, we already had that covered. Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan was our 7th member. So it made sense him coming out there, you know, pretty good booking right there, I would say. So then that left us. Then Gabriel got eliminated by Cena. Then after that, you saw Wade Barrett and Cena go at it for just a few seconds. Cena gets him in the STFU. Wade Barrett taps out. So Cena goes over for Team WWE. Really no surprise. They did a good job of teasing that he possibly could have turned, but you knew it wasn't going to happen. Overall, I give the match 3.5 stars. Pretty good for a 7-on-7 elimination match. Some good stuff in there. Great to see the moment of Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan coming out there. You know, he got the first elimination in this match, main eventing a WWE pay-per-view, main eventing SummerSlam. You know, 7-on-7 still, he was in the main event. And the only thing with this is, like, Cena, you know, overcoming the odds again, you know, able to, you know, 2-on-1, you know, Gabriel and Wade Barrett, eliminate both of them. It kind of makes, what is Nexus going to do next? What are they going to do with it? I mean, because you can't go the route of, you know, if Cena would have lost and Nexus would have won, you could have went the route, you know, the team was, you know, completely turning on themselves. You know, Miz came out there, Jericho and Edge weren't coexisting because of, you know, they thought Cena eliminated him. So what are they going to go with this? Is this whole Nexus thing over with or what? I guess we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen on Monday Night Raw. But overall, this pay-per-view, I would say this is one of WWE's worst SummerSlams I've seen in a long time. Definitely a very weak pay-per-view, but going into it, what the card looked like, you shouldn't expect it much. So overall, I would give this pay-per-view probably about a 5 out of 10, maybe a 5.5. I know that might be a little generous considering that other than the main event, everything else was pretty bad for the first 2 hours of this pay-per-view. But the main event, I would say, was what this pay-per-view was supposed to mean. What was the selling point of this pay-per-view? And I would say that somewhat delivered, but the rest of the pay-per-view completely hurt the quality of the pay-per-view overall. So, like I said, I give it about 5, maybe a 5.5 out of 10. This pay-per-view, I would say, don't order this pay-per-view. Don't go out your way to purchase the replay or anything. If you check it out, check out for the main event, and that's basically it. And the main event, I would say, had some pretty good booking. Just the ending, just, you know, Cena overcoming the odds again, even though I'm not, you know, someone that hates Cena, but even I would say it's kind of, you know, that's tiresome seeing that, you know, Cena overcoming the odds yet again. And what's this going to do with the whole Nexus thing? Where are they going to go next? But like I said, we'll have to wait and see where it's going to lead to tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw. And like I said, not that good of a SummerSlam. Pretty lackluster pay-per-view from WWE, especially a pay-per-view that's supposed to be their WrestleMania of the summer. You know, WrestleMania this year was good. SummerSlam, this was probably one of the worst SummerSlams I've seen in a long, long time. So that's it for my WWE SummerSlam 2010 pay-per-view review. Peace.